Hello, everybody. Let's talk about gardening, growing vegetables and stuff in South Florida. The difference between in the winter and the summer and the transitioning between the two. I pretty much have down what I like in the summer months and the hot months of what works really well. But winter months I've still been working on. So I'm just going to share with you some of the things that I've learned and what I'm looking at here. And I'll mention the summer crops too as we go around here. Just keep in mind that the way I do gardens, since permaculture is a big part of what I do, and I'm not really going to focus on the permaculture part, the fruits and the vegetable trees and shrubs that I have that are growing all year round. I'm not going to really focus on that, but that is a big part of what I do. I'm talking about your annuals, not your perennials, the things that you grow specifically for short periods of time during the year to make vegetables. All right, so let's just take a look and I'll talk as we go. So one thing here that I grow all year round, works really well, is the Everglades tomatoes. Pretty much any cherry tomato will work well all year round in Florida. So you can see I got a batch going. The biggest challenge I have is that you have to space it out and keep replanting them or you will run out. Like, they'll run out. And I did run into that. I haven't had any cherry tomatoes since August. So I planted these in about early October. Got to do it earlier, got to keep replanting them. So Everglades tomatoes especially, I like these. I do sell the seeds too on Etsy and eBay if you're interested in buying the seeds from me, if you want to support the channel. Okay, here's some red radishes. Doing pretty good. I did thin them out some, could maybe thinned out more. They seem to be doing okay. Not as well as a daikon radishes I have though. But I have them in a shallow pot, as you can see. I use containers just for convenience. I feel like it gives me a little more control. I know that there's advantages to planting things in the ground, definitely. I'm looking for things that are idiot proof that I don't have to spend a lot of time on. So everything you see here, I'm looking for things that I don't have to worry about. They can kind of be neglected. That's what I'm shooting for, okay? As a gardener, as a prepper, I don't want things that require a lot of care. Okay, so keep that in mind. And Everglades tomatoes definitely meet that bill. Don't need a lot of care, a little bit of fertilizer now and then. Don't have to overwater them. They do pretty well. Okay. All right, those are some fruit trees. I have Meyer lemon and kumquats, by the way, which are doing pretty well. I started this. This obviously has to be thinned out. This is broccoli from my broccoli seeds that I use for both the green, for microgreens, and for what do you call it? You're doing the actual seeds in the jar. So I'm going to thin this all out. I'll use these for just like salads, and I'll narrow it down to one or two plants in here because there's no way that'll work long term. They seem to be growing just fine though here in the winter. It's late December, so I think that'll definitely work. Just getting it down, so that'll work. Okay, over here I have some bean plants. These lima beans, I had a few lima bean plants that I had left over that I tried before in different times of the year. I didn't do too well. They're doing pretty good. They're making a lot of them. I actually should have harvested these a long time ago because you got to keep picking beans and then they'll keep pumping them out. So it's doing okay. It's not as prolific though as the green beans I have over here. Okay, these are doing really well. I just got a big handful of them yesterday. So as you can see, I only have 9 pots. And it's really spitting out enough green beans every 2 or 3 days. I'm getting a very large handful, enough for 2 people to have, 2 as a side dish a couple times a week. So I just added some more, 4 pots, and I had a couple extra seedlings. So I decided to try them in the milk cartons because I'm trying to avoid buying more pots. So we're going to see how that works. I don't know how it's going to work, but really this really works well. And like I said, I picked a lot of these yesterday. But there will be another day or two. These things grow really fast. Okay, these bean pods. So highly recommend trying different green beans, something that does really well in the winter. So these ought to pump out green beans pretty much all winter from what I can see. As long as you keep picking them, that's the thing. You got to keep picking them or they'll start kind of dying back. So definitely a success. Okay, here's some purslane. I had purslane in larger pots and they were doing fine, but I decided I didn't want to waste larger pots on these because they're a shallow rooted plant. This one was in the larger pot. I transplanted the whole thing. I don't think it's doing really well. These are from smaller ones I just found growing in the yard, putting in there. These are a good, really well-rounded vegetable. You can cook, you can eat them raw, you can have them in salads. So I'm going to expand this with the milk jugs because they do not need deep soil. They're a pretty shallow rooted plant, really good all-around vegetable that you can use, and they're native. They're well adapted. They can handle dry conditions, don't need much care, not a lot of fertilizer. I ought to give them a little fertilizer, and they can handle dry soil for extended periods of time, do really well. Okay, over here. Okay, these are my larger tomato plants. So as you can see, again, these were all planted in October, so it's taken close to 3 months where I'm going to start getting some ripe fruit here very soon. And larger tomatoes do very well in Florida in the winter. It's just a matter of finding things you like. Then I put some more in here, which I'll add another container of the larger tomatoes. So the key again is not planting everything at one time. These are semi-determinate tomatoes, so they'll pump tomatoes out for a while, but they're not going to keep pumping them out, unlike the Everglades tomatoes. So you got to keep replanting every several weeks if you want a constant supply, and that's my biggest weakness, biggest thing I need to work on to get better. Have some onions here. Oh, that's a weed. Some onions not doing great. These are doing okay. These are green onions, and then some bulb onions not doing great. But again, I just need to experiment with that. I've grown onions before and they've done okay. Maybe the pots should be bigger, maybe not. Maybe they need more light. So, we'll see how that works. But these green onions, let's see. Yeah, these are just, you eat the green tops of them for these types of green onions. Okay, doing really well is radishes. Yeah, sprouting seeds is what I've been using for these radishes. These are daikon radish. I have thinned them out. They might need thinned out more. But as you can see, they do really well. So this is just a matter of honing them in and getting them the right amount of thinning out. Yeah, see, that definitely needs thinned out. There might be a good radish. These daikons are more like carrots as far as how they look. So yeah, these definitely need thinned out. Probably only want 2 or 3 plants overall. The leaves are really good for salads, though, if you get them young. When they're this big, they have a lot of thistles on them. They're sharp. They're not really something you want to eat, although they taste fine. So this, I got to get better. I got to thin them out, yeah. So, but they grow. So then that's the point. They grow great. So you can definitely get a lot of radishes. And I have some more carrots. I have grown carrots like this, so you can see we're starting to get carrot tops that are fairly large. And I don't know if I needed to thin these out more. I did thin them out some. Like here's a carrot in here. I don't want to pull any. I think they'll be okay because I have grown them pretty thick like this before and gotten a lot of carrots, but we'll see. It's just a matter, again, these grow really well in the winter. Summer, different story. Not a good summer crop. Okay, turnips. So here's some turnips do pretty well crowded together, as you can see. And the great thing about the turnips is you can eat the leaves. They don't have the prickly thistles on them. So turnips do really well. This is a really great winter crop I found. So you look at them all, and they're pretty crowded, but they're still making usable turnips in here. So that's pretty good. Okay, so again, the radish is doing really well. Carrots do really well. Turnips do really well. Those don't have to be spaced nearly as much as the radish. The radish has got to be spaced out a lot more than this because I'm not really getting any good radishes. to speak of are very few. Here's a good one though that's coming up. Pretty good one. See, it's kind of like carrots, this type of radish. So that's what you want. But most of these don't have that big of a stem. So I'm going to keep that. I'll just lay it out here and use it like carrots. The carrots, from my experience in large containers, do pretty well. You don't have to have them spaced out very much from my past experience, but we'll see. They certainly grow great in the winter, no problem. Then our Seminole pumpkins. Again, I've been growing these in beds usually, but I'm trying them in big pots so that I have more control over them. Keep them off the ground more. Otherwise it becomes a real pain as far as mowing and stuff around here. So I do have some, and this is typical, you know, usually in the winter up until about February or March, you get a few pumpkins here and there, and then they just take off in the late spring. There's a couple more over here growing. Then they just take off in the late spring and keep producing all the way well into the summer, and then they just kind of die back. At least for me and my experience here in South Florida, that's what they've been doing. So what we'll be doing, because Seminole pumpkin will keep going, keep that going as long as we can, and then I'll probably convert that into something else, these pots. The radishes and the carrots and the turnips will probably be converted into cowpeas mainly. Cowpeas do really well in the summer here. Don't need a lot of water, fertilizer, really good producer. So I'll probably be converting a lot of these pots into cowpeas gradually, and early spring, start doing it in late February, probably in March, start converting over. Again, the large tomatoes I can probably keep going until late spring, but then they're going to just die out, and I'll probably change some of these over again to cowpeas and okra. Okra is another thing I grow that does really well in the summer. So okra does good. Okay, so down here at the canal I have lettuce growing in these milk water jugs. It's just kind of an experiment. They would definitely do better in larger containers, no doubt, but they're doing okay. The main key here is to fertilize them, and using a liquid fertilizer about once a week, and that's made a huge difference. They're really taking off now quickly. I have one in a really small milk jug because I might try growing them in the windows in the summer, because it's way too hot here in Florida, probably past March or April, for the lettuce to do well. So then I have some herbs, some oregano and basil and stuff in here, and dill. Doing pretty well. Again, it needs fertilized, definitely. Oh, I didn't mention over here. Over here I was trying some cucumbers and zucchini and some like lemon squash. These have not done well. This is where I normally grow in the late spring and summer the yard-long beans, which do wonderful over here along this fence line next to the birds. The only thing that's done well really are the lemon squash. That one's getting kind of overripe. Those have produced a little bit, but again, I've grown them before and they've never really taken off. It might be my pots aren't big enough. So I'm not giving up on them. I don't use these a whole lot anyway, but this has been kind of a failure. It might just be the way I'm growing them, has not worked. But these will all be turned into yard-long beans, which do really well here in the hot heat of the spring and summer. You can grow those all year long. Those will be converted. Again, I'll probably convert these beans into okra. I'll probably use these pots, convert them into okra. Started doing that, and again, early to late spring, because those do really well. And again, cowpeas is the main pea I'll be growing. Again, the Everglades tomatoes, I'll keep pumping those out and growing those as well. So those are kind of what I'm going for. There's other things I might try, but that's pretty much the story here. Definitely going to up the production of the green beans, maybe lima beans. Might try something else next winter too, because the production level is just really, really good on these, and you can, really grow a lot of food for a small amount of space and a small amount of effort as far as doing that. Broccoli I think is going to do just fine here once I get it narrowed down. So I'll probably expand this just so I can grow some of my own broccoli, which I like. And of course, broccoli I could freeze any extra I have and just keep it and use it throughout the year. So I might very well expand the broccoli production and freeze the leftovers so I have them all summer. Just I might have to invest in a freezer, which I might need anyway if I start storing meat, which is another story, something else I'm working on, which I might get to. All right, so if you have any questions about our setup here, of course I have permaculture stuff, fruit trees and chaya and katuk and other perennial vegetables all over the yard, which I use. But if you have any questions about anything, feel free to put something in the description, ask questions. If you'd like to support the channel, I have links below, Amazon links and links to my eBay and Etsy store where I sell cuttings and seeds and other things you might be interested in if you want to support the channel. All right, so we will see you later.